We understand there was a time in this country's history, and certainly our right-wing friends want to bring us back to that time, when workers had virtually no rights at all. When people who needed to feed their families were 100% dependent on their employers. If the employer didn't like their color or where they came from, if the employer was not happy if they didn't work on Saturday or Sunday, that worker was fired. That worker had no rights whatsoever. And people struggled. They struggled because they said, I am a human being. I have rights. You can't do that to me. I need dignity. And unions were formed, and people fought, and people died, and people were beaten, and people went to jail. And the goal of that effort was for people to sit down and collectively negotiate contracts with workers, get decent wages and decent benefits. That struggle took decades. When we talk about civil rights, we take it for granted, especially the young people in the room, and I'm delighted to see so many young people here, that we have an African-American president of the United States. You know how that happened? That happened for 100 years. People fought against racism. They fought. I was just in Selma, Alabama a couple of weeks ago to honor the 50th anniversary of the march over the Pettus Bridge there. And I went to the museum. And you read about Birmingham, Alabama, in a 20-year period, there were 50 bombings, 50 bombings of people involved in the civil rights movement, culminating in the death, of course, of those beautiful children. There was terrorism in Birmingham, but people didn't give up. They went to jail, they struggled. In terms of women's rights, 30 years ago, there were 2 women in the United States Senate. Today, there are 21 women. Today, there are women governors. When I was mayor of the city of Burlington, it was a very big deal because we appointed the first woman to be a police officer in the city of Burlington, Vermont. Today, there are women generals. There are women in the military. There are women, when I was growing up, very few women went to medical school. Very few women went to law school. There has been a radical transformation. How did that happen? Think it happened by accident? It happened because people struggled. 100 years ago, women didn't even have the right to vote. Change takes place because people struggle. You talk about not so many years ago, when a family would have a child with a disability, do you know what happened? As often as not, the family kept it a secret. That child was institutionalized. There was a bit of a shame having a child with a disability. Today, all over America, kids with disabilities are in our public schools. They are loved by their classmates. We're proud of them. They are part of us. They are part of humanity. That happened because people struggled. And last, one can give many examples, but maybe the last one that I want to give you in terms of struggle and in terms of change is the fight regarding gay rights. If people were sitting in this room, not decades ago, but 10 years ago, and if somebody jumped up and said, you know, I think in some of the conservative states in America, they're going to be supporting gay marriage, people in the room would have said, you are crazy. And yet, again, because of the struggle of people in the gay community and their allies, we have radically transformed that culture in America. I go out to high schools all over the state of Vermont. I go to the conservative parts of the state, and I ask the kids, I said, raise your hand. Tell me what you think about gay marriage. And kids kind of shrug their shoulders, and they say, what are you talking about? What is the big deal? Which is exactly what we've always wanted in the first place. What is the big deal? All right. The point is that when millions of people stand up and fight, they win. That's it. And when people do not stand up and fight, we lose. Okay. Thank you. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.